Okay. All right, we are going to begin our public session for our special workshop meeting this evening, just for a update on the COVID and the safety and health that we're addressing at the secondary level. Mr. Dolan, if you could take it away.
Pledge.
Oh, you want to do the pledge first? Thank you. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, and we have no public comment because we're not addressing any business. There's no board votes tonight, so Mr. Dolan.
Okay. Thank you very much, President Carney. I think we have, a lot of people right off the bat to thank. To my right, the entire Board of Education. To my left, the Central Office Administrative Team. I want to give everybody, a big thank you. This has been, a challenging time, but I think what we're seeing here is democracy in action. We announced in October that we wanted to bring our high school and middle school back fully. We were in consultation with other school districts. We were looking for ways to do this, and we settled on a plan to bring everyone back December 1st. But I do want to stress, and we've said this every time we've done something, whether it's bringing the elementaries back and this plan, that those plans were dependent upon conditions, health conditions throughout the county, East Islip, and quite frankly, across the country. At this point, I'll just read you what I sent to the board. I'd like to thank everyone for their thoughts and their input. After listening to numerous folks, whether they were groups, individuals, a number of constituent groups throughout the district, and consulting with other superintendents and the Department of Health, the Suffolk County Department of Health, who I'd like to really thank. They've been very cooperative, very supportive. It is my recommendation at this time that we freeze our plan to put all the students back in the high school and middle school on December 1st. I stress we freeze the plan, temporarily. We have seen the positivity rate, it's 5 times what it was when this plan was first put forward, when we first spoke about implementing this plan. Once the positivity rate begins to trend lower, you have my full 100% support and commitment to bringing our students back full-time in a safe fashion. We all believe that that's the best thing for our students. We've said it numerous times. The hybrid is not the situation we want. We want our students in class, and the board will have some questions from me, but I would at this time also like to extend a thank you to Mr. Bernard, Mr. Brennan, and the committees they put together at their buildings, and to Mr. Anthony Gagliano and to Mr. Steve Restivo, who is our COVID coordinator along with Dr. Bells. They've worked very hard to come up with a plan that I think once these numbers, the positivity rate begins to trend lower, I'm very comfortable that we'll be able to get in a safe fashion. And, as we look at our elementary schools, we had a plan and we're working that plan, and that plan is working well. So, again, at this time, in conclusion, it's very simple. My recommendation is that we simply pause, we freeze the reentry until the positivity rate improves. And once it does, and as soon as possible, we would like to get all our students back in full-time at the high school and middle school. So at this time, I think the board probably has some questions or comments or statements.
Okay. Who would like to begin? No? I'll start then.
I'll just write down some questions.
Okay. So Mr. Dolan, the secondary schools, if the positivity rate starts to decrease, how quickly can we make the decision to bring the students back full-time, full in?
I think that we will, and I just got a text a little while ago that the desk shields will be, have been delivered on time. We'll be ready to go in a relatively short period of time. You're also gonna see, we're gonna begin to put desks back into classrooms that we don't necessarily need right now, but, we wanna get people comfortable and used to the idea. So, over the course of the next, the Thanksgiving break, and then, as time goes on, we're gonna monitor these numbers. But our custodial staff, who I really wanna thank, who've been doing an excellent job under some, tremendously adverse conditions, we're gonna begin to reset the rooms so that as soon as we're ready, it could be a 24, 48 hour, turnaround, but we'll be ready to go. As soon as we're ready, we will be ready.
Okay, and are the shields for the secondary available, or will they be arriving soon? How long will it take for them to be set up? And how are the cafeterias gonna handle the full population of students? And will students have access to lockers?
They did talk about a plan for lockers moving forward in the future. And it'd be a sort of an odd even system. I'd like to let Mr. Brennan and Mr. Bernard explain the details, because if I misspeak, it's just gonna make confusion and more work for them. But I know they have a plan for the lockers. The cafeterias, we are gonna lose some gym space at the middle school. And we were already using the auxiliary gym at the high school. There was a little bit of irony there. We were very concerned about the elementaries, but we were able, by planning and we were able to, make moves at the elementary school so we didn't lose those spaces. And we'll be okay. We do have, the phys ed teachers have been and will be very cooperative, but there'll be part of the gymnasium at the middle school will be used for the cafeteria. And the high school, we believe, is set up already to handle the cafeteria flow for, population.
You mentioned the shields. What's the plan right now for the shields? Is each kid gonna get their own shield that they take with them? Is the plan to clean the shields? What are we gonna do with that?
I'm gonna defer this, and once we're ready to go, once we see ourselves in the clear, Mr. Bernard and Mr. Brennan will put those details out. I don't wanna misspeak because, I'm very pleased, that they put these committees together. They're both in agreement, we want the kids back in school. And, we understand that we have to be cautious, we understand we have to, be safe and be healthy. But as far as the minutia and the details of the plan, as I said the other day to them, they're your buildings and you're gonna be working those buildings day to day. So I would rather that they communicate directly with the community and don't let the superintendent get in the way.
Okay.
With sports coming supposedly in January or February now, I'm not sure, are the boys and girls locker rooms gonna be open if we're back in school full-time? How are we gonna handle that? The new, what do you call it, the weight room or whatever that room, I forget now. Is that gonna be, all the band room, the orchestra room, are we gonna bring the kids into these areas, or that's not gonna happen until?
Absolutely, and again, by being patient, the old expression, be quick but don't hurry. At the elementary, we're bringing back music, which at the beginning of the school year, we did not know if it was gonna be possible. So I give Dr. Waterwood and the music teachers a tremendous amount of credit for that. We have the new room, the new music suite at the high school. If and when the time comes that we bring more people back, we are going to have to make adjustments. But I've watched the teachers make these adjustments with the students, and the administration in the building. So we'll have music. The locker room is and we're waiting for further direction from Section 11. We have an interesting situation because we have a, brand new music suite that's being used. We have brand new locker rooms that they're not a lot of wear and tear because they're not being used. So we're gonna see if we can get the warranty extended because we didn't use them. But as far as the sports goes, as we get direction from Section 11 into scholastic sports, it'll be up to, and Steve-O has been our COVID coordinator, under Dr. Bell's, working with Dr. Bell's. We will have a plan for the locker rooms. And I think this is exciting news, the middle school is getting new locker rooms, and we learned a good lesson. We started the construction on the music suite and the locker rooms, in April, I guess, last year, because we know you can't get those things done in 2 months. But there is space over at the middle school, and we will, I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody over there with Steve, because we don't know the planning, but we're going to have to work around, and this is a good problem, the fact that we're gonna replace those 60-year-old locker rooms with brand new locker rooms. But we do have some team areas, and the bottom line is, I'm very proud that people have been patient and cooperative, and I'm very proud of all the employees, like I said, the leadership team, the leadership teams, the administrators, the teachers, our custodians, all our support staff. They are making adjustments both for Corona and construction. And, we will have, when we're allowed to, we're gonna have sports. And it's gonna, as we saw it with the practices, if you make a schedule and you have a process, we're gonna have it all, Mr. Montori.
What about the fitness room, now that I remember?
The fitness room, that's not supposed to be completed until, I think the windows come the end of March, beginning of April, because the windows are spread, but you're going to see on the north side, the back side of the high school, that looks towards, the nice new red roof over at RCK. We do have 2 fitness rooms going in. I go there regularly because at the end of the day, because the construction workers are really, they're good, decent people, and we have some nice surprises. It's gonna be a really nice fitness room for the kids, and there's gonna be a little bit of music, so we expect to see them in there working out.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You wanna go? Because I'm gonna be a while.
I just want to know, if we go all in, will that have any difference on transportation? Like the busing or anything, how will that work?
Now, if we go all in, we are concerned, and this brings me to one of my favorite lines. It's Mr. Harrison always asks, it's very difficult to social distance on a bus, but what we've been working with, and we've seen this with some of the glitches or some of the hiccups we've had. Our bus drivers are staying on top of kids. The most important thing on the bus is to wear a mask. We're truly appreciative. There are a number of parents that have sacrificed and are driving kids, which, remember on a bus, even in the cold weather, we expect the windows to be open, the masks on, and, they do give us, there is a certain amount of leeway on a bus. We don't have as many kids as we used to, and a lot of that is because people are driving them. But, in the end, we couldn't possibly, there are not enough buses we couldn't buy enough buses across Long Island to have 10 kids on a bus. So, and again, I can't stress this enough, and I am gonna ask everybody, because I have gotten a couple of phone calls about this. If you're coming to pick your child up, even if you're standing out front on the sidewalk, if you're on our property, please wear your mask. And I know it can be a bit of an inconvenience, but, it's also respectful of others. You don't know if the person you're standing next to may have a pre-existing condition. And, so if you're on the property, and it's very difficult, I don't want to put, our security guards do a great job, and I don't want them to get into a confrontation, but we are going to continue and remind you and ask you, if you're coming to pick up your child and you're not waiting in the car, please put your mask on. Because, it's just respectful, and it sends a good message, and quite frankly, it sends a good message to the kids. So please, wear your masks even if you're standing outside.
Joanne, can I piggyback that for a second? Mr. Harrison, since the elementary kids have returned full-time, have we seen a big uptick in bus usage? I know it was low before in the hybrid model, not many kids on the buses, I know there's only a few on my kid's bus. But since they've gone back full-time in a short period, have we seen a big uptick in the buses? Has that been a concern?
The results have been pretty disparate across the district. We've seen buses in the low teens to some buses being in the low 30s. It's been a wide range of results. But in every case, the numbers have been less than what we planned out on a bus. So there is evidence of families driving their students to school. So it is less than capacity,
And the kids are wearing their masks on the bus?
yes.
I have to make a statement. I took my grandson to school today. He didn't leave the house, he puts his own mask on. Automatically. They put their mask on and they don't wanna know nothing. It's great to see.
My kids leave it on at home. They don't want to take it off.
Really, it's the kids, I tell you, the kids, the elementary kids are really something to watch. They're really good.
They don't mind wearing them. I don't know if it's because they're used to it now or whatever it is.
Guys, I think what they're hearing, and it's just cute, if you get a chance to just, you ask them, because I've had a chance to talk to some of them and the older kids. This is my favorite one from the older kids. Yeah, I just want to go back to school. I'll do whatever it takes to go back to school. And the little ones, and that's why I said we need to be a good example. I know I'm 6 feet away. Mine's off right now because I want to make sure that I'm clear because I know sometimes I can be confusing. But that's why I made the comment about wearing your mask when you're picking your kids up because kids look literally and figuratively look up to us for direction, and that's why the high school, middle, and elementary school kids, we're very proud of them, and that's a tribute to the adults. So I can't say this enough. I love to say to kids, it's especially like they're practicing and they're working hard or they're doing work, they're working on a play or they're working on a project with their teacher, and I always say to them, it's not what you do here that matters, in practice. It's what you do the other 22 hours a day when nobody's looking. And keep that in mind because, we have Thanksgiving coming up, we have Christmas coming up, we have Hanukkah coming up. We want people, to enjoy, and I'm going to get to see, I'm going to see my parents, I'm going to see my dad by Zoom, my mom will be in person. But, we want to be careful. Please, the smarter we are, the sooner we're going to be able to get back together. These big congregations in houses are not helpful. And believe me, I know more than I care to admit, but there's not a lot I can do about it, and it is as frustrating as all can be. We were joking around before, I know that I've been hard. My own kids are grown, but, I sometimes I go off on them because, I want my mother to be able to come and visit. I want to be able to go visit my father. I don't want anybody to get sick. So please, as hard as it is, there's no reason you can't have a turkey in March when this is all over. There's no reason you can't celebrate holidays. Holidays are about your family, it's about your loved ones, it's about being together. But who says you have to have that turkey this year? You can have a small turkey and then have a bigger one to celebrate COVID being over. I firmly believe that we're close. It's the last 300 yards in the marathon are the hardest. It's always darkest before the dawn. All the cliches are there, but we gotta buckle down. And I'm sick and tired of not seeing kids in the parking lot at 5 o'clock at the high school. I'm sick and tired of talking about the hybrid. So let's do something about it. Wear your masks and keep the parties. Let's have one really big party when COVID's over.
John, how often are you in contact with the health department? And is that going to start to be communicated to the greater community? I know you said you're gonna start, it's just gonna be on a building by building basis when something's effective, but how are you gonna communicate this pause of the hybrid to the secondary?
I'll send out a letter tomorrow. The hardest part about, to answer your first question, I've spoken to the Department of Health, and we have the same person, we actually have two, every day for the last 12 days, for advice or, for blessing, or, this is what we're looking at. What we do, just so you know, every day we have a standing 2:15 meeting that I hope we don't have to have, and we call it the COVID court, because the health department, in the beginning of the pandemic, or the beginning of the spike or the resurgence, we would get information, principal would gather it up, we'd get all kinds of different information, everything from square footage, ventilation, heights of ceilings, and we'd package it up and send it to the Department of Health. And they had a standing 2:30 meeting, and then they would adjudicate and they would tell us what to do. Middle of last week, they're inundated with phone calls. So they basically said, we need your help. So we've kind of reestablished that on our own, and every case, is taken on its merits. And the Department of Health has told us they're not looking at proximate contacts anymore, it's just simply direct contacts. But we get together as a group, we review the facts, and then the decisions get made. Now, in the beginning, we were sending the message out to the whole district, but we also know that we wanted people to start to hear what was going on. But the research shows that if we continue to pound you with phone calls, you become numb to it. If the phone call comes out and you hear, this is a message for RCK, or something happened at RCK, and you live at Timber Point, you tune it out. So now these messages are going to simply be building specific. But what happens is, if we get a reported case, and there are times you get a reported case, and the Department of Health says no further action is needed. Or there are times that we have to, we have to close the building or pause the building. It's not closed, we have to go to remote learning. What was the second part of the question, Jess?
How many times have you been talking to the Department of Health?
He said every day.
I got the whole question, but just want everybody
And
to
then the
know
communication.
the process.
You answered both.
And as far as, again, as the communication goes also, the Department of Health is reacting to overwhelming numbers. So, every district on Long Island put together in the state put together these wonderful plans in the summer, which are basically obsolete now because things have changed. So we'll do our best to keep you apprised and keep you up to date. But just keep this in mind, if there is anything COVID related and you don't get a phone call, that's good news. So I think that answers the question.
Thank you.
All right. First, I'd like to let the community know that today, Mr. Dolan actually said to me, I'm too tired to talk to you anymore. So I consider that a victory for the entire school community in East High School District. I have it on my text and I'm gonna show it to everyone. All right, I got a bunch of things. The first thing I came up was the masks. And that's one of the things that bothers me about closing the school. And not keeping the schools open, Phil, or the masks. Because the scientific consensus is that everybody should have a mask on. And the same is true, the scientific consensus is we should be back at school. I find that so weird that we readily accept the mask, but we're going against, the public perception is against going back to schools, even though the consensus is that we should be all in. Because the hybrid plan is proven to be not a healthy option in a lot of respects. I'm sure a lot of high school parents have noticed how much time the hybrid groups are commingling outside of the school day. And more often because they're off 5 days a week. Most kids go to school, they come home, they take a nap, they get something to eat, they do their homework, they do something they want to do, and then they go to bed 5 days a week. Now we're allowing these kids all this mingling back and forth. So since the beginning, I thought that the hybrid was a less safe option. So right now, we're continuing the hybrid plan through until we decide to go full in. Because that's a concern. People have heard rumors that we were planning on closing the schools completely. That's not true. So we're going to continue to hold this COVID court and move along on a case-by-case basis, school and building specific. You have to say it, they can't hear you.
Oh. I was agreeing with you. I was agreeing with you.
All right. How many students, staff, and teachers in total over the course of the year have had a positive test? Approximately. Best guess.
We're around, staff is around 10 to 12, kids are around 8 to 10.
And how many of those have we traced to the building?
You know, contrary to popular rumor, as of right now, things are not tracing back to the building.
All right, so that's the second point, right?
Right.
That the transmission is not really coming from the schools. We're going against the scientific consensus when we're not bringing them all back. My other question was, you said that the positivity rate was going to be the marker, right? Are there other factors that led you to decide that December 1st was not a good idea besides just the positivity rate? Are there other concerns that you have that you want to deal with over the next couple of weeks before we do go full in?
You know, and here's something, and this is hard. I mean, the hardest part, even when your kids grow up, and God, I hope they're not watching because they don't like when I do this. But you alluded to something before about kids when they're not, you know, my own son, I'm gonna say one of my sons, because of an activity, found, you know, one of his teammates tested positive, so he had to go get a test. And of course, as a parent, you're worried, but you know, you don't. It's hard. They tell you if you may have been exposed or you're told to quarantine, you got to wait a couple days before you go get tested. And you know, he wanted to go out, and he's been very good. It's, you know, a very tight group of friends. You know, we kind of drew the line, and even though they're older, you know, we do have, you know, grandparents we're concerned about, and you know, he's like, Dad, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what? You're too old for me to tell you what to do, but you got to do the right thing. And Thanksgiving's coming, and you want your grandmother to come over for Thanksgiving. If you do one thing, then she's not coming over. And if you do another thing, then she can come over. Now, thank goodness, you know, the test came back, he was negative. But that's the toughest part about being a parent. I've heard numerous stories about parents who are telling me, you know, how their kids are giving them a hard time because they're not allowed to do this and they're not allowed to do that. But in the end, you look at them and those parents know, you know, these are tough choices that you have to make to get through this. And I really think we're close. I think we're close to the end. I see a light at the end of this tunnel. What was the second part of your question?
What besides the positivity rate, what was the factor? What other factors came into making this decision?
You know, I spend a lot of time, and I do give thanks, you know, to as a superintendent. You know, I'm very fortunate. I got a great team here to my left. We got an administrative team. We got, like I said, the employees in this district, and I've been doing, you know, I've been going around visiting, doing like some observations. So like I went through the whole elementary. We do have some really good, wonderful people here, from the, you know, the secretaries, the guards. But I do speak a lot to my colleagues, you know, and what other districts are doing. You know, sometimes we steal a good idea, sometimes they steal a good idea from us. We were partnered up with another district that had the same goal is to get everybody back December 1st. Their plan was a little bit different than ours. They're a much bigger district than us. And when all of this started to kind of speed up, I had several conversations with the superintendent, and, he's like, John, I just can't, given what's going on across the country, across Long Island, across the state, he goes, I'm just gonna wait. And he had taken one step already that we hadn't taken. We had talked about it, that we want to phase it in, or we just gonna go all at once, and we decided to do it all at once. But there are 3 other districts that were on our timetable, and they all froze. And look, I have no problem, we want to be trailblazers. We did the bond. We want to try to do things that people say we can't do. We don't want to live our lives in fear, and we are not going to live our lives in fear. But if all the districts are now headed east and we start going west, listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, I love, trying to, the path is here, I'm gonna cut through the bush, because I wanna see if I can find another path, But in this case, we had a lot of conversations with superintendents who I truly respect, in the Islip cluster. It just seems, whatever you wanna call this, a freeze, a pause, a temporary deep breath. There's been a tremendous amount, and this board has been very good about offering their opinions. You've even offered yours once or twice. I'm not sure how you feel exactly, but I agree with you, Mr. Carp. Look, we want the kids back in as soon as possible. I'm only kidding, but I think after listening to everybody and looking at the big picture, we will be one of the first ones back.
Can I just interject something while I'm here? Tonight on the news, okay? You're home, you're a parent, you're having supper with your kids. The first thing you hear on the news, the CDC, safest place for the kids to be is school. Dr. Fauci, school is the safest place. No, it's not us, I'm talking about a parent. Parents sitting home. There's no reason why the kids have, that's the only thing that I have a problem with. All the science people are saying, put the kids in school. So if I'm a parent at home and I'm looking at my kids who, why can't we go back to school? That's a question, I don't know.
Oh, no, and I think I can answer this one pretty easily, quickly. When Dr. Fauci and all these people are talking about going back to school, 80% of the country is hybrid. The density, when you start putting more kids in, we had said to people, we want to offer people the opportunity who are not comfortable when we come back to go virtual. And on the secondary level, if you're not comfortable, contact my office. We do see an uptick, but what the Department of Health would describe, and when they ask, the density level, how many kids are in the room, gosh, let's say we put everybody back in December 1st, and we had a couple of cases, we would be forced to, it wouldn't be an intermittent, like 1 day shutdown. We would be forced to shut down longer. It would be very disruptive. And so, looking at the numbers, analyzing the data, and what I'm hoping and praying, this is a very short pause. I'm hoping and praying that the freeze it thaws quickly. But to answer your question, the density in the buildings would put us in a different bracket, and we would have to have these closures that become, or quarantining that becomes so disruptive, because you got people all over the place.
Thank you.
And just to add on to that, the middle school switched from hybrid to virtual. They're gonna come back to the hybrid model. But what are we gonna do in the event that we do have a spike again, or we get a cluster of positives and the health department decides to ask the district to start randomly sampling, doing COVID tests, the way they are doing in other areas. Are we equipped to do that? Are we looking into that?
And tomorrow morning at 11:30, we have a meeting to discuss that across the county. Because what President Carney is referring to is the mandate to do testing. Now, again, I think everybody, let's face it, everybody goes and gets tested and nobody has the virus, the positivity rate's gonna go lower. But if we become a yellow zone, red zone, orange zone, or red zone, there are different rules where we would have to do mandatory mandatory random testing of sampling of our staff and our students if we want to remain open. And the Suffolk County Superintendent's Association and its Board of Directors has been meeting with the Department of Health Commissioner and County Executive Steve Ballone to try to come up with a cohesive plan. As you can imagine, the 66 districts in Suffolk County trying to find independent contractors to show up at schools and do testing, that could become pretty chaotic. We will keep you posted because right now we are trending towards a yellow zone. But I also got word late today that they may be adjusting, without counting Suffolk County as one region, but adjusting within. But again, it's a very fluid situation. But if we do have to do testing, we will, we'll partner up with one of the big healthcare providers or the county. And then we will, at that point, have to push out detailed information to parents because, I'll get out in front of this. There may be people out there that don't want to test, but this is a state mandate that we have to abide by, and those people might choose to go virtual so they don't have to test. But, stay tuned, and like I said, 11:30 tomorrow, I'll be on a Zoom meeting to get more details.
So the figures that the board was presented by building are total students, not how many students are in the building at any given time. So we have 70% of that total student rate. So if we had to sample, we have to include the virtual students in that random sampling or not?
I don't believe so, but, that's really, Dr. Bells will have the answer for that tomorrow because after this meeting, we will get direction.
Okay, and 20%, which was what Staten Island is being forced to test in buildings, would be hundreds of students and staff. So we definitely need to have some kind of plan in place if we have to, instead of shutting down.
To give you a rough idea, we have and I'll keep this simple because we have, we have about 4,700 students and employees, a little less, 4,500. So if my math is correct, 20% of that is 900. So that's a lot of tests.
And that's just 20% on a rolling basis?
It's a rolling,
Until the positivity rate decreases?
If I'm not, and I could be wrong, but the first thing I heard, I think is different than the second, but I think it's rolling over 2 weeks, correctly? Is that what it is? Yeah, it's a rolling average over 2 weeks. I mean, it's not,
By
nothing.
far the dumbest idea I think I've ever heard. Because right now, we've had 20 max, and we have, 4,500 staff? 4,500 staff and students, we have 20 cases. Our positivity rate is under a 0.5 percentage point. But if we start testing everybody, that makes absolutely no sense.
You're not gonna get a disagreement from me, but we want to stay open, so we're gonna make it happen. And Mr. Cogle, whatever it takes, we're gonna make it happen. Because I think it is worth it to stay open, quite frankly. So we will be ready if we have to do it.
And when you feel that you're ready to recommend to go full in at the secondary level, you'll be able to turn that around in just a few days, or will it take you a few weeks? How much time do you think that?
No, I mean, and now, you know, it's been hanging over everybody's head. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Now that we've, you know, we're moving forward, the committees will be able to kind of shift their focus. It's not gonna be rushed. It's gonna, there's certain things that they will have to tweak. You know, there may be a little bit of tweaking in the schedule to try to balance some classes and things like that, which we've been through that before. It's not easy, but.
But it's not gonna be a 6-week lead up, the way that we made the decision, and 6 weeks later, we're now,
No, the hope would be,
Changing that
we'll see the trend start going downward, and, you know, we can even have another meeting like this. We see the trend going downward, you know, physically, I think, you know, 48 hours is, you know, would be doable. But I think, in fairness to the community, I would rather, you know, if we think it's gonna be 4, we think we're gonna do it on X day, I would rather have this kind of meeting to say, look, the numbers are getting better, this is where we're going. We're gonna have, physically, we're gonna have the desks and the shields in place. We're ready to go. And that way, if you know, if people are not comfortable with the plan, we can move them over to, you know, to virtual. So I think it would be nice to give the public, you know, and I'll just throw it out here, but if we feel like we're gonna do it, let's do it on a Monday, you know, because that gives us a whole week. And then if we have a meeting like this on a Wednesday and say we're doing it Monday, that gives people, you know, time to prepare. And we're looking to do this. So, you know, I would say to families, please start to have the conversation, so that you're prepared if we, you know, come forward and say we're gonna do this.
great, thank you. Any other
Just,
questions?
One more, easy one. How's the transition to full-in instruction, how's that going at the elementary school?
You know, it's been nice. I said I wanted to go and see every teacher in the district one-on-one. I finished, my goal was to have all the elementaries done by today. And, I have to tell you, I'm extremely proud. Overwhelmingly, what I keep hearing is, we're glad to have the kids back. And I think they're being cautious, they're being sensible, they're being careful. And I think that when you walk into the schools now, and I've been, you know, made it a point to be in them these last couple of weeks, they feel like schools. And again, I want to thank the community for, you know, you were very patient, you know, September, October, but by doing it the way we did it, we don't have our gymnasiums full, we don't have our cafeterias full with classrooms, and I just applaud, you know, everybody from the custodian that opens the door in the morning, the secretaries, you know, I always leave people out, the security guards, the aides, you know, the TAs, the teachers, the administrators,
The nurses?
the nurses, thank you very much. You know, it feels like school, and I'm extremely proud. You know, I'm extremely proud to serve the people of this district, not the community and the people that work here. It feels like school, and let's knock on wood. You know, and as I've asked you, please wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. Even when you're picking your child up, set the good example. And wouldn't it be nice if we could just get through this whatever this spike is, turn the corner, and, you know, wouldn't it be nice in April to be arguing about the budget? I'm kind of looking forward to, no, I'm serious, I'm looking forward to getting back to normal, so.
All right, so I would just, I'm not gonna speak for Phil, but I'm gonna reluctantly accept your recommendation that we're not going back full-time.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna reluctantly accept your reluctance because.
Resignation, what?
No, listen, Billy, you know, I gotta give you a lot of credit, boy. I think you led the charge and articulated what everybody at this table feels. an extreme amount of frustration because we want, let's face it, we want to be back in school. So I thought that, this kind of conversation is great because, this is what democracy should be. The guys in Washington can learn from you guys. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to,
Agree. Disagree.
This is what I want this is what we want the kids to see. We want our kids to see us, and look, it's hard. John Dolan, the person, agrees with you. John Dolan, the superintendent, knew he had to make a different recommendation, that's all.
Okay, any other questions, comments? No? All right, so,
Actually, if we could just thank John and the team.
Yes.
You guys put in a lot of work, day in, day out. You've overcome a lot of difficult circumstances. So I'd like to thank Mr. Dolan and the entire team, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Manzo, Dr. Bells, and everybody down on the ground at each of the schools. So thank you for every day for making sure our kids are safe but healthy, while giving them a good education. So thank you for all you do.
well said, Chris, thank you.
Can I just echo one last thing? We said this in August, we said, we hope we're thankful at Thanksgiving, and I know this is a very, very tough time, and families are facing very difficult decisions about what to do for the holidays. But I think, we're all thankful for you folks. I'm extremely thankful for the people in this room, especially Mrs. Mann, because anything we get right is because of her, and Matt wouldn't be here without Matt. But let's make it a point, you make a choice, in life, but you make a choice. And I loved listening to the teachers, and a couple of them said it again to me today. You choose to get up, choose to make a difference, choose to be positive. And we have a lot to be thankful for. So when the folks that work here see the people that live here, and the people that live here see the people that work here, we're not always going to agree. And nothing's perfect. And if things were perfect, I probably wouldn't have a job. But we can all agree on this. It's Thanksgiving. We all have a lot to be thankful for. And let's just thank each other for working together, because that's how we're going to get through this. So thank you all.
Thank you. Our next Board of Education regular business meeting is on December 10th at 8 p.m. So I think we're done. Adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Be well.